The Draxian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 7,000 years. 300 star systems bowed to one being, Emperor Vex the Eternal. He wasn't just powerful. He was a living god. 20 feet of silver scales that shimmered like starlight. Wings that could blot out suns. Violet fire that burned cold enough to freeze matter at the atomic level. But gods can die too. Vex's twin hearts were failing. Not from battle or poison or age. The universe itself was rejecting him. His hearts were quantum biological marvels, organs that existed partially in other dimensions, keeping his consciousness anchored across space and time. Now they were collapsing inward like dying stars, creating microscopic black holes in his chest cavity. The Empire's greatest physicians tried everything. Gene resequencing. Dimensional surgery. Temporal reversal. Nothing worked. The damage was woven into the fabric of reality itself. One physician, brave or foolish enough to speak plainly, told him the truth. Your Eternal Majesty, you have 3 weeks. Perhaps 4. The court didn't waste time mourning. Succession wars began before Vex even left the throne room. Princes who'd waited centuries for power suddenly saw their chance. Alliances formed and shattered within hours. Fleets moved into position. The empire that had stood for 7 millennia started tearing itself apart. Draxian tradition was clear. When an emperor died, he died alone. To surround death with others was to show weakness, to admit you feared the void. So they gave Vex a warship, supplies for a month, and coordinates to the Outer Rim. He would die with honor, in solitude, as every emperor before him had. Vex set course for the edge of known space. He didn't fight the tradition. Maybe he was too tired. Maybe, after 7,000 years of ruling, of making decisions that affected trillions, of never showing doubt or fear or pain, dying alone seemed easier than dying surrounded by people who'd already forgotten him. His primary heart ruptured on the 3rd week. The pain was beyond description. It felt like his chest was being torn open from the inside while simultaneously being crushed in a vice. The ship's life support system screamed warnings. Blood, silver and glowing with bioluminescence, pooled on the deck. Vex collapsed. His massive form, designed to inspire awe and terror, now just felt heavy. He couldn't even reach the medical bay. He lay there, alone in the corridor of a ship built for a crew of 200, and waited for the end. That's when Tyler Brooks picked up the distress beacon. Tyler was nobody special. 28 years old, mechanic rating 3, certified to work on civilian vessels and light cargo haulers. He operated out of a beat-up repair ship called the Rusty Bolt, taking whatever jobs paid enough to keep fuel in the tank and coffee in the pot. Salvage, mostly. The Outer Rim was littered with dead ships, and Tyler had gotten good at stripping them for parts. The beacon was odd. Military encryption, Draxian origin, but not calling for help. Just broadcasting coordinates and a single word in the old Imperial language. Tyler's translator chip rendered it as witness. He should have ignored it. Military salvage was illegal, and the Draxians didn't take kindly to humans poking around their business. But Tyler had rent due, and military-grade components sold for serious money. He set course. The warship was massive, easily 3 miles long, designed to carry enough firepower to level planets. But it was drifting, powerless, life support barely functioning. Tyler docked carefully, running every scanner he had. No crew. No active weapons. Just one life sign, fading fast. He found Vex in the corridor. Tyler had seen Draxians before, but never up close. Never an emperor. Even dying, Vex was terrifying. Those silver scales weren't decorative, they were armor plates capable of deflecting plasma fire. The wings, even folded, spanned 30 feet. The head alone was the size of Tyler's entire ship. But what Tyler noticed most were the eyes. Golden, with vertical pupils like a cat's, staring at nothing. Not with rage or dignity or imperial pride. Just exhausted and alone. You came, Vex whispered in perfect English, his voice like thunder trying to be quiet. I didn't think anyone would come. Tyler knelt down, his medical scanner already out. What it showed made his stomach drop. The hearts, plural, were catastrophically damaged. Bioreadings that shouldn't exist. Temporal fractures. Dimensional bleeding. Stuff that was supposed to be theoretical. I'm just a mechanic, Tyler said. I fix ships, not, whatever you are. I am dying. Vex coughed, and silver blood sprayed across the deck. And I am alone. As tradition demands. That's a stupid tradition. Vex's eyes focused on him for the first time. You're human. Yeah. Tyler Brooks. And you're having a heart attack. Actually, 2 heart attacks. At the same time. The scanner screamed. Vex's primary heart was rupturing completely. Tyler had maybe 90 seconds before total system failure. Tyler's hands moved on instinct. He'd been a deep space mechanic for 6 years, working alone in places where the nearest hospital was 3 weeks away at light speed. Every mechanic who worked the outer rim had the same setup, military-grade cybernetic medical implants running through their nervous system, packed with repair nanits and emergency protocols. You learned to patch yourself up, or you died. But this was different. This wasn't patching a cut or setting a broken bone. This was emergency cardiac surgery on an alien emperor whose biology shouldn't even exist. The scanner gave him the layout. Vex had 2 hearts, positioned vertically in his chest. The primary heart was destroyed, collapsing into itself. The secondary was failing, trying to compensate but drowning in dimensional feedback. Tyler needed to stabilize the secondary heart, give it something to anchor to. His own heart was pounding. The medical implants were already calculating. Probability of success, 4%. Probability of both dying, 96%. Tyler looked at Vex's golden eyes, still conscious somehow, still aware. This is probably going to kill us both, Tyler said. But I'm not letting you die alone. He activated the surgical protocols. The implants flooded his system with anesthetic and stimulant simultaneously, keeping him conscious while numbing the pain. Nanite scalpels emerged from his fingertips, invisible blades sharper than any metal. He cut into his own chest. The pain broke through the anesthetic like a supernova. Tyler screamed but didn't stop. He could feel his heart beating frantically, could feel the nanites working to keep him alive while he carved into himself. He grabbed his own heart with hands that shouldn't be steady, and with precision he didn't know he had, he cut away the left ventricle. Half his heart, still pumping, still alive. Then he turned to Vex. The Emperor's chest was already open, silver blood everywhere, the secondary heart visible and failing. Tyler pressed his half-heart against it. The nanites in his blood immediately went to work, fusing human tissue with alien biology. It shouldn't work. Every law of biology said this was impossible. But Tyler's repair nanites didn't care about laws. They were designed to fix things, period. They started building bridges between human cells and Draxian crystalline structures, creating connections that had never existed in nature. Vex's secondary heart stuttered, seized, then suddenly synchronized with the human tissue. One beat. Then another. The rhythm was wrong, chaotic, but it was working. Tyler collapsed next to the Emperor, his vision going dark at the edges. His own heart, what was left of it, was barely keeping him alive. The medical implants were working overtime, rerouting blood flow, compensating for the missing pieces. They both lay there, mechanic and Emperor, in a spreading pool of silver and red blood, breathing in ragged gasps. Then Tyler felt it. A pulse in his chest that wasn't his own. Stronger. Deeper. Ancient. Vex's eyes went wide. "I feel you," he whispered. "Yeah," Tyler gasped. "That's probably not good." It got worse over the next few hours. As they both slowly stabilized, the connection deepened. Tyler could feel Vex's pain, sharp and burning in places he didn't have. He could sense the Emperor's exhaustion, the weight of 7,000 years pressing down like gravity. And underneath it all, something Tyler didn't expect, loneliness so profound it felt like drowning. Vex was experiencing it too. He sat up slowly, his massive form still weak, and stared at Tyler with something like wonder. "I feel your fear. Your determination. The way your mind works, it's chaos. Random. Unpredictable. How do you function like this?" "Coffee, mostly," Tyler muttered. He was using the ship's medical bay now, letting automated systems patch up the mess he'd made of himself. "What's happening to us?" "The hearts are bonded. Your human tissue, your nanites, they created a bridge. We share one cardiovascular system now. 2 bodies, 1 heart." Tyler processed that. "So if you die, you die. And if you die, I die." Vex flexed his claws, testing his strength. "We are permanently connected." "Great. Just great. I saved your life and now we're stuck together forever." "I did not ask for this." "Neither did I, Your Majesty. But here we are." The attack came 3 days later. Tyler had managed to get the warship's basic systems online, enough for life support and sensors. That's how he saw them coming. 3 Draxian strike ships, sleek and deadly, closing fast. "Friends of yours?" Tyler asked. Vex's expression darkened. "Prince Corvin's fleet. He wants to ensure I stay dead. The ships opened fire without warning. Plasma bolts hammered the warship's shields, already weak from weeks of drift. Tyler ran for the bridge, Vex right behind him despite his injuries. Through their connection, Tyler could feel the Emperor's rage building, hot and violent. "Can we fight back?" Tyler shouted over the alarm sirens. "The weapon systems are offline. You would need days to repair them. Then we run. This ship cannot outrun strike fighters." Another barrage hit. The shields collapsed. Hull breaches reported on decks 7 through 12. They had minutes, maybe less. Tyler felt Vex's emotions shift. The rage crystallized into something focused. Dangerous. "There is another way," the Emperor said quietly. "But it will hurt. Both of us." "What way?" "I still have my power. The fire. But using it while our hearts are bonded, the strain could kill us." Tyler looked at the tactical display. 6 more ships jumping in. They were surrounded. "Do it. You don't understand the pain." "I said do it." Vex's eyes began to glow. Violet fire, the same cold flame that had conquered 300 star systems, erupted from his body. Tyler felt it through the bond, power flooding through their shared cardiovascular system, burning and freezing simultaneously. It felt like his blood was turning to ice and fire at the same time. He screamed. So did Vex. The Emperor released the power in a pulse that expanded from the warship in all directions. The violet fire didn't burn hot, it burned cold, absolute zero and beyond. The strike ships froze solid in an instant, their hulls crystallizing, their systems dying. Then they shattered, breaking apart into glittering clouds of frozen debris. The power cut off. Both Tyler and Vex collapsed on the bridge, gasping. Through the pain, Tyler could feel something else, Vex's surprise. Not at the destruction, but at the fact they'd survived it together. "You felt that," Vex said. "All of it. The full force of power meant to destroy fleets. It should have killed you." Tyler coughed, tasting copper. "Yeah, well. I'm stubborn like that." For the first time in 7,000 years, Emperor Vex the Eternal laughed. News traveled fast in the Draxian Empire. Faster than light, carried by quantum communication networks that spanned 300 star systems. Within hours, everyone knew. The Emperor wasn't dead. He'd survived. Bonded to a human. A human. The reaction was immediate and chaotic. On the core worlds, citizens rioted in the streets. Some celebrated, believing their god emperor had transcended death itself. Others protested, calling it corruption, contamination, the end of everything pure about their civilization. The military fractured further. Princes who'd been fighting for succession now had to reconsider everything. And humanity? Humanity panicked. Tyler found out his face was galactic news when his communication console started receiving 7,000 messages per second. Threats. Marriage proposals. Death threats. More marriage proposals. News agencies offering millions for exclusive interviews. Human governments demanding he report for debriefing immediately. He turned the console off. "This is insane," he muttered, looking at Vex who was studying the messages with fascination. "I'm a mechanic. I fix cooling systems and patch hull breaches. I can't be the consort to an emperor." Vex finished. Through their bond, he could feel Tyler's panic attack building. "Breathe. Your heart rate is spiking." "Our heart rate is spiking. That's the problem. I can't even have a private breakdown anymore." They'd been on the warship for 2 weeks now, making repairs and avoiding the chaos outside. But they couldn't hide forever. The Empire needed an emperor. And apparently, that emperor came with a mechanic from Detroit Station attached. The first delegation arrived on a gilded cruiser that made Tyler's repair ship look like a garbage can. 20 Draxian officials in ceremonial robes, led by an ancient female named Elder Thrix. She took one look at Tyler, still in his grease-stained jumpsuit, and her expression suggested she just smelled something dead. "This is the human," she said flatly. "His name is Tyler Brooks," Vex replied, his voice carrying that imperial weight that made people stand straighter. "And you will address him with respect." "Respect? Your Eternal Majesty, he is wearing clothing with a stain that appears to be engine lubricant." Tyler looked down. She wasn't wrong. "Yeah, I've been fixing your Emperor's ship. Turns out warships need maintenance." Elder Thrix ignored him completely, focusing on Vex. "The Council has prepared quarters for you in the palace. Proper medical facilities. A team of specialists to examine this bonding situation. and suitable clothing for your companion. I'm not going to the palace, Tyler said. Everyone stared at him. You didn't refuse the Imperial Council. You definitely didn't do it while covered in engine grease. Elder Thrix's scales rippled with irritation. Young human, you don't seem to understand your position. You are bonded to the Emperor of the Draxian Empire. Your preferences are no longer relevant. Tyler felt anger spike through the bond, not his own, but Vex. The Emperor stepped forward, and despite his injuries, despite everything, he was still terrifying. Tyler's preferences are the only thing that matters. He saved my life. He shares my heart. If he says no, the answer is no. The standoff lasted 10 seconds before Elder Thrix backed down. But Tyler could see it in her eyes, this wasn't over. After the delegation left, Tyler slumped against the wall. I can't do this. I can't be whatever they want me to be. Vex sat beside him, careful not to crush anything with his massive bulk. What do you want? I want to fix things. That's all I've ever wanted. I see something broken, I figure out how to make it work again. But this, he gestured at everything, I don't know how to fix this. Through the bond, Vex felt something shift in Tyler's emotions. Not panic anymore. Determination. That stubborn human refusal to quit that Vex was beginning to understand. Then don't, Vex said quietly. Don't try to be what they expect. Be what you are. A mechanic covered in grease. A human who refused to let someone die alone. The next visitor was more welcome. Tyler's sister Rachel arrived on a human naval vessel, somehow having talked her way past 3 military blockades and 2 very confused Draxian border patrols. She was 3 years older than Tyler, a lieutenant in Earth's deep space fleet, and she'd always been the responsible one. She punched Tyler in the shoulder the moment she saw him. Oh, what was that for? For giving half your heart to an alien emperor without calling me first. Rachel's eyes were red. She'd been crying. Do you have any idea what you've done? Earth's government is losing their minds. Half think you're a hero. Half think you're a traitor. Everyone agrees you're an idiot. Yeah, I'm getting that impression. Rachel finally looked at Vex, who'd been watching this exchange with interest. She tried to bow, awkward and uncertain. Your Majesty. I'm Rachel Brooks. Tyler's sister. And apparently, I need to apologize for my brother's complete lack of survival instinct. Your brother saved my life, Vex said. There is nothing to apologize for. He cut out half his own heart. Yes. It was extraordinarily stupid and brave. Vex's eyes gleamed. Very human. Rachel spent 3 days on the warship, and Tyler watched his sister do what she did best, gather information and make plans. She interviewed Vex about Draxian politics. She studied the bond through every scanner she could get her hands on. She made lists, lots of lists. On the 3rd night, she sat with Tyler in the ship's observation deck, staring at the stars. You're not coming home, are you? She asked quietly. I can't. If I die, he dies. If he dies, I die. We're stuck together. That's not what I meant. Rachel looked at him. You could bring him to Earth. Live there. Let the Empire sort itself out. But you're not going to do that. Tyler thought about it. About going home to Detroit Station, back to his small repair bay, back to the simple life of fixing broken ships. But through the bond, he could feel Vex's presence, the weight of responsibility the Emperor carried, the knowledge that billions of lives depended on the choices they made. There's something broken here, Tyler said finally. An empire that's been running the same way for 7,000 years. Systems that don't work anymore but nobody questions them. People suffering because that's how it's always been. I'm just a mechanic, but you see something broken, and you want to fix it, Rachel finished. She smiled, sad but proud. You're an idiot, little brother. But you're my idiot. The real turning point came when the younger Draxians started arriving. Not officials or military officers, but students, artists, engineers. They'd grown up watching human entertainment, studying human history, fascinated by a species that had gone from primitive tools to starships in just a few thousand years. A young Draxian engineer named Cross approached Tyler nervously, scales shimmering blue with excitement. Is it true you repaired the warship's quantum drive using parts from a cargo hauler? Yeah. The original parts were shot, so I improvised. That's impossible. The quantum resonance frequencies are completely incompatible. Tyler shrugged. Impossible just means nobody's figured it out yet. I used a harmonic buffer I built from. He launched into a technical explanation, and Cross's eyes went wide. More young Draxians gathered, asking questions, sharing ideas. They didn't care about tradition or purity or the proper way things should be done. They cared about what worked. Vex watched this from across the room, and Tyler felt something through the bond. Hope. Real hope, for the first time in centuries. That night, alone in the quarters they now shared, Vex asked the question that had been building. Your people laugh at death. Form friendships with strangers. Fight against impossible odds. Why? What drives you? Tyler considered it. Because giving up feels worse than trying. Because maybe we can't win, but at least we can say we tried. Because, he struggled for the words. Because the universe is huge and cold and doesn't care about us. So we have to care about each other. Otherwise, what's the point? Vex was quiet for a long moment. 7,000 years, he said finally. I've ruled for 7,000 years. And I never asked that question. Maybe that's the problem. Through their shared heart, Emperor and Mechanic felt the same thing. The galaxy was changing. And they were going to change it together. The Empire was splitting apart. Prince Corvin made his move 3 weeks after Tyler and Vex bonding became public knowledge. He declared himself regent, claiming the real Emperor had died and what remained was just a corrupted shell wearing Vex's face. 200 star systems sided with him immediately. Another 50 stayed neutral, waiting to see which way the wind would blow. Corvin's flagship, the Eternal Judgment, was twice the size of any other vessel in the fleet. He broadcasted his message across every channel, his crimson scales gleaming under calculated lighting. The creature calling itself our Emperor is an abomination, Corvin announced. Bonded to a human, a species so primitive they still fight wars over resources they could easily synthesize. This pollution cannot stand. I call upon all loyal Draxians to join me in restoring purity to our great empire. Tyler watched the broadcast and felt rage building through the bond, not his own, but Vex. The Emperor's violet fire flickered around his claws, barely contained. He's using fear, Tyler said quietly. Making people scared of change. It's a classic move. He's also right about one thing, Vex replied, his voice tight. My military doctrine is 7,000 years old. Corvin studied under the same war masters I did. He knows every strategy, every tactic, every move I might make. We cannot defeat him through conventional warfare. Then we don't fight conventionally. Vex looked at him. What do you mean? Tyler pulled up a star chart, highlighting the loyalist territories. Your military is powerful but predictable. You've been winning the same way for millennia. Overwhelming force. Superior technology. Frontal assaults. It works when you're stronger than everyone else. But Corvin has half your fleet now. You're evenly matched. And your solution? We cheat. Tyler grinned. We fight like humans. The problem was simple. The Draxian military was built on honor, tradition, and straightforward tactics. They announced their attacks. They engaged in fair combat. They followed rules that had been established when the Empire was young and unchallenged. Humans didn't do any of that. Tyler sent a message to Earth's military command. It took 3 days to get authorization, but eventually a small fleet arrived, 12 ships, all human crewed. The lead vessel was the Defiant, commanded by Captain Lisa Hayes, a veteran of the Mars Rebellion who'd spent 20 years fighting against superior forces and winning through sheer audacity. She walked onto the warship's bridge, took one look at Vex, and whistled. So you're the Dragon Emperor. Bigger than I expected. Brooks, you really know how to make an impression. Captain Hayes, Tyler said. Thanks for coming. Are you kidding? A chance to teach alien royalty how humans fight? I wasn't missing this. She turned to Vex. Your Majesty, I watched your fleet's battle formations. Very impressive. Very organized. Very predictable. How do you feel about ambushes? Ambushes are dishonorable, Vex said automatically. Ambushes are effective. And right now, you need effective more than you need honorable. What followed was the strangest military training in galactic history. Captain Hayes and her officers taught Draxian commanders tactics that made them uncomfortable. Guerrilla warfare. False retreats. Feints and misdirection. Hit-and-run attacks. Fighting dirty. The Draxian Admiral Theron objected constantly. This is not how we fight. We are warriors, not thieves in the night. You're also losing, Hayes replied bluntly. Your choice. Keep your honor and die, or adapt and win. Tyler watched it all, feeling Vex's internal struggle through their bond. 7,000 years of tradition warring against the simple logic of survival. Finally, the Emperor made his decision. "We adapt," Vex announced. "Captain Hayes will have full authority to restructure our tactical doctrine. Any officer who refuses to cooperate will be relieved of command." The first battle using the new tactics was at the Catherine Nebula. Corvin's fleet arrived expecting a standard engagement, ships arranged in formation, shields up, weapons charged. Instead, they found 3 damaged Loyalist vessels limping away, trailing debris. Corvin's fleet pursued, smelling easy victory. They didn't see the 50 human and Draxian ships hiding in the nebula sensor shadow. They definitely didn't expect the mining charges. Tyler had spent 2 days rigging throughout the area. The ambush was devastating. Corvin lost 30 ships before he even realized what was happening. The rebels retreated in chaos, their formations broken, their predictable doctrine useless. News of the victory spread fast. More systems joined the Loyalists. More importantly, the younger generation of Draxians, the ones who'd grown up watching human entertainment, started volunteering in droves. They weren't interested in fighting the old way. They wanted to be part of something new. But Corvin adapted too. If the Loyalists wouldn't fight with honor, neither would he. He started targeting civilian stations, refugee ships, medical facilities, anything to draw Vex into a direct confrontation. The attack on Haven Station forced Vex's hand. 5,000 civilians, mostly families of Loyalist soldiers. Corvin gave them 1 hour to evacuate before his fleet arrived. There wasn't enough time. The station's transport ships could maybe save half. Tyler felt Vex's anguish through the bond. The Emperor was willing to change tactics, but he couldn't abandon his people. They had to respond. "It's a trap," Captain Hayes said, studying the tactical display. "He knows you'll come. He'll have the whole area mined and waiting." "I know," Vex replied. "But I cannot leave them to die." "Then we make the trap work for us," Tyler said suddenly. An idea was forming, crazy and dangerous and very human. "Corvin expects you to come in with everything you have. What if you don't?" The plan was insane. Tyler would take a small team, 6 humans, 3 Draxians who'd embraced the new tactics, and infiltrate Haven Station before Corvin's fleet arrived. They'd sabotage the station's defense grid, making it look like the weapons were offline. When Corvin arrived for his easy victory, Vex's fleet would already be there, hidden inside the station's docking bays. "You'll be trapped if this fails," Vex said, his claws digging into the table. Through the bond, Tyler felt the Emperor's fear, not for himself, but for Tyler. "It won't fail." "You can't know that." "No. But I believe it. And sometimes that's enough." The infiltration went perfectly until it didn't. Tyler's team got into the station, started their work on the defense grid. But Corvin arrived early, his fleet dropping out of hyperspace 2 hours ahead of schedule. Tyler and his team were still inside the station when the rebel ships surrounded it. Through the bond, he felt Vex's panic spike, a sensation so alien from the normally controlled Emperor that it almost knocked Tyler over. Corvin's voice echoed through the station's speakers. "I know you're in there, little human. The creature you're bonded to is probably going insane right now, feeling your fear. Good. Let him suffer. When I kill you, I kill him too. 2 problems solved." Tyler's team was pinned down in the defense control room. Rebel soldiers were cutting through the door. They had maybe 3 minutes. "Tyler," Vex's voice came through his communicator, raw with emotion. "I'm coming for you." "No. Stick to the plan. If you come out now, he wins. I will not lose you." Through the bond, Tyler felt something he'd never felt before. The full weight of Vex's power, building up, ready to explode. The Emperor was about to unleash the violet fire again, consequences be damned. It would work. Vex would destroy Corvin's fleet. But the strain on their shared heart while they were separated by distance, the doctors had warned them. It would kill them both. Tyler made his choice. He grabbed the station's communication array and broadcast on all channels. "Corvin, you want me? Come get me yourself. Or are you scared to face one human mechanic without an army?" The cutting on the door stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. Then Corvin's laughter echoed through the station. "Bold. Stupid, but bold. Very well, human. I'll kill you personally." The prince arrived with 10 guards. Tyler had 6 team members, 1 plasma cutter, and a really bad plan. But he also had something Corvin didn't. He had years of experience fixing things with whatever tools were available. And he'd spent 2 days rigging this station with improvised surprises. The fight was brutal and short. Tyler triggered the traps, depressurized compartments, overloaded power conduits, emergency bulkheads dropping at calculated moments. His team fought with human desperation against Draxian superiority. Tyler took a plasma bolt to the chest. The pain was incredible, but worse was feeling Vex experience it through the bond. Across space, on the warship, the Emperor collapsed, screaming. For 3 terrible minutes, both their hearts stopped beating. The shared heart saved them. The damage distributed between 2 bodies instead of destroying one. Tyler's nanites and Vex alien biology worked together, forcing their hearts to beat again. Tyler woke up to find Corvin dead, killed by his own guards who'd switched sides the moment they saw their prince's cruelty. Haven Station was secure. The rebel fleet was surrendering. And through the bond, Tyler felt Vex relief, so powerful it brought tears to both their eyes. The Civil War ended 3 months after Haven Station. Not with a final battle or dramatic surrender, but with negotiation. Actual negotiation. Something the Draxian Empire hadn't done in 3,000 years. Tyler sat in the conference room of the rebuilt Imperial Palace, still uncomfortable in the formal clothing they'd convinced him to wear. Around the table sat representatives from 200 star systems, Draxians, humans, and a dozen other species that had lived under Imperial rule for centuries. They were arguing about trade routes. "This is boring," Tyler muttered through the bond. Vex, sitting at the head of the table in his full Imperial regalia, somehow managed to reply without anyone noticing. "This is governing. It's supposed to be boring. The exciting version involves people dying. I miss fixing engines." "You fixed an empire. This is the maintenance phase." The transformation had started small. After Corvin's defeat, Vex made an announcement that shocked the galaxy. He was restructuring the empire into a confederation. Each species would maintain autonomy over their own worlds. They'd contribute to collective defense and share resources, but the days of absolute imperial rule were over. The traditionalists called it weakness. The younger generation called it brilliant. Historians would probably argue about it for centuries. But it was working. The change wasn't just political. Human engineers were modernizing Draxian technology, stripping away unnecessary complexity and making systems more efficient. Draxian scientists were teaching humans about quantum mechanics and dimensional physics. Trade opened up between species that had barely been allowed to communicate before. Tyler's repair bay, the one he'd abandoned to answer that distress call, became a symbol. Vex had it transported to the palace grounds, much to Tyler's embarrassment. Young mechanics from a dozen species came to study there, learning how to improvise, adapt, and fix things without waiting for official procedures. One afternoon, Tyler found a group of Draxian students taking apart a hyperdrive engine while a human instructor explained the modifications they were making. "See, the original design is beautiful but over-engineered," the instructor was saying. "If we simplify the quantum resonance chamber and add a harmonic buffer here, we get 90% of the performance at half the cost." A student raised his claw. "But the original specifications were written by the Imperial Engineering Guild 5,000 years ago. We can't just ignore them." "Why not?" Tyler asked, walking over. "Who says old means better? Things change. Technology improves. If something can be done better, do it better." The student stared at him, half in awe, half in shock at the casual blasphemy. The human who'd bonded with their emperor was telling them to ignore 5,000 years of tradition. "The guild will never approve this," another student said nervously. "Then we change the guild." Tyler grinned. "Or we ignore them and do it anyway. Sometimes asking for permission just slows things down." That attitude was spreading through the empire like a virus. A good virus. The kind that made people question things they'd always accepted. "Why do we do it this way? Is there a better way? What if we tried something new?" Not everyone was happy about it. Elder Thrix, who'd never warmed to Tyler, led a faction of traditionalists who pushed back against every change. They filed protests, demanded reviews, cited ancient laws that supposedly made reform impossible. Tyler dealt with them the way he dealt with everything, directly and without much patience for bureaucracy. "You keep saying we can't change things because of tradition," Tyler told Thrix during one heated council meeting. "But traditions are just things people made up a long time ago. They made sense then, maybe. But it's not then anymore. It's now. And now needs different solutions." "You are human," Thrix replied coldly. "Your entire civilization is barely 10,000 years old. You cannot comprehend the wisdom of our ancient ways." "Maybe not. But I can comprehend when something's broken. And a system where half the empire tried to kill the other half 3 months ago? That's broken." "Vex, who'd been watching the exchange, finally spoke. Elder Thrix, I have ruled this empire for 7,000 years. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have witnessed wonders and horrors beyond counting. And in all that time, I never questioned whether the way we'd always done things was the right way. Then a human mechanic taught me that maybe, just maybe, we could do better. The room went silent. When the Emperor of the Draxian Empire admitted he'd been wrong, people listened. The old empire is dead, Vex continued. We can mourn it, or we can build something better. I choose better. The reforms continued. But the real test came from an unexpected direction, time itself. Tyler was human. Vex was functionally immortal. The shared heart meant they were stuck together, but it didn't change their fundamental biology. Tyler was aging. Not fast, the Draxian medical technology helped, but inevitably. At 4 to 5, Tyler started noticing the difference. He got tired more easily. His reflexes weren't as sharp. The nanites could repair damage, but they couldn't stop time. Vex noticed too. Through the bond, he felt every ache, every moment of fatigue. And for the first time in his ancient life, the Emperor understood mortality not as an abstract concept, but as a lived reality. We should discuss options, Vex said one night as they reviewed reports in their shared quarters. Draxian technology could extend your lifespan significantly. Perhaps even make you functionally immortal like me. Tyler looked up from the datapad he was reading. Would that change who I am? It would keep you alive. That's not what I asked. Vex was quiet. Through the bond, Tyler felt the Emperor's fear. Not of death, Vex had accepted his own mortality when he'd been dying alone on that ship. Fear of being alone again. I've been thinking about this, Tyler said carefully. About what happens when I die. You could survive it. The Draxian doctors said with the right technology, they could keep your heart functioning even without me. No. Vex. No. The Emperor's voice was firm. I chose connection over isolation. I will not go back. You die just because I do. I would die rather than face eternity alone again. Vex's golden eyes met Tyler's. You gave me half your heart. You showed me that existence without connection is just survival, not life. If I lose you, I lose the part of me that remembers how to truly live. Tyler felt tears building. Through the bond, he couldn't tell if they were his or Vex. Maybe both. Then we've got to make the time we have count, Tyler said finally. And they did. 27 more years. Not long by Draxian standards. An eye blinked to an immortal emperor. But they were good years. Tyler continued working, fixing things, teaching others to fix things. He wrote a manual called The Mechanic's Guide to Empire Building that became required reading in political science courses across 300 star systems. He never stopped being himself, a guy who preferred grease-stained jumpsuits to royal robes, who ate lunch with maintenance crews instead of nobles, who told ancient emperors when they were being idiots. Vex changed too. He laughed more, questioned more, listened to voices that had been ignored for millennia. The empire became something new, messy, argumentative, inefficient, and more alive than it had been in 7,000 years. At 72, Tyler's body finally gave up. No amount of technology could push it further. He died in his sleep, in the quarters he shared with Vex, surrounded by friends who'd traveled from across the galaxy to say goodbye. Vex held Tyler's hand as the shared heart slowed. The Draxian medical team stood ready with equipment that could save the Emperor's life, separate their hearts, keep Vex alive for another 7,000 years. Your Majesty, the lead physician said urgently. We must act now. No, Vex replied quietly. We don't. Rachel Brooks, now an admiral, stepped forward. She'd known this moment was coming. Vex, you don't have to do this. Tyler wouldn't want. Tyler taught me that some things matter more than survival. Vex's scales were dimming, his fire fading. He showed me that a life connected is worth more than an eternity alone. I will not dishonor that lesson by clinging to existence without him. The shared heart stopped. Emperor and mechanic died together, their last breaths synchronized, their consciousness fading into the same darkness. They were buried on Earth, in a simple grave in Detroit, where Tyler had been born. The funeral was attended by millions, humans, Draxians, and dozens of other species who'd been touched by their story. The Dragon Emperor who'd conquered 300 star systems was laid to rest in a graveyard next to mechanics and teachers and ordinary people who'd lived ordinary lives. Above the grave, they placed a statue. Not of Vex in his full imperial glory, and not of Tyler in formal robes. Instead, it showed a dragon and a human, sitting side by side, working on a broken engine together. The inscription was simple: he was dying alone. He refused to let him. Together, they changed everything. The empire they built lived on. It wasn't perfect. The Confederation argued constantly, different species and planets pushing their own interests. But it worked. It adapted. It grew. Systems that had been stagnant for millennia started innovating again. 50 years after their deaths, a young human mechanic named Jordan Chen stood before their grave. She'd just been appointed as the Confederation's chief engineer, the first human to hold a position that high. She carried a wrench, old and worn, that had once belonged to Tyler Brooks. "Thank you," she said simply, "for showing us that being human means refusing to accept that things can't get better. For proving that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to let someone face their darkness alone." She placed the wrench at the base of the statue and walked away. The galaxy kept spinning. Stars were born and died. Civilizations rose. But in a small cemetery in Detroit, a dragon and a mechanic rested together, their shared heart finally at peace. And across 300 star systems, in 1,000 different ways, people remembered the lesson they'd taught, that empires aren't built on power or tradition or force. They're built on connection. On the willingness to help someone, even when every logical reason says you shouldn't. On the simple, stubborn, very human belief that together is always better than alone. The Dragon Emperor had been dying alone. A human mechanic gave him half his heart. And in doing so, they changed the galaxy forever.